My name is Taylor Brackett. This presentation is titled Analysis of Learners for Instructional Design Lesson and was created for a course at the American College of Education. In this presentation, I will be describing the target audience for a lesson I will be creating. I will also describe my experience with creating presentations in PowerPoint and will be choosing an area of weakness on which I hope to improve. The following points provide a general description of my learners. I teach elementary students, and my classes are generally split into 3 groups. Each group consists of about 25 6th grade students. I generally have a mix of male and female students in each class, and because of our location, many of my students are Caucasian. We also have a very low number of English language learners because of our location. Each of my classes is ability grouped, meaning I have one class made up of my lower performing students, students with IEPs, and students who are pulled for resource. My next class is full of students who are considered average in performance. Finally, I have my gifted class made up of merit students who are pulled each week, as well as students who are considered high performing, although they don't qualify for the gifted class. Because of our rural location, the students who attend my school often come from poor families. We are considered a Title I school. Finally, I teach both science and social studies and have chosen social studies as a focus area for the assignments for this class. Academically, there are several things to note about my learners. First, my inclusion class tends to be smaller, averaging around 18 students, in order to allow for more differentiation and small group work. In order to determine learning styles, learning inventories are utilized at the beginning of the year for all students. I then take those basic ideas and apply it to lessons that I create throughout, and then I can adjust as I learn my students better. Because of the way the South Carolina standards are written, students are introduced to new content each year and generally have little to no prior knowledge on the content being introduced in social studies. At our school, we utilize Canvas as a learning management system, and students are familiar with the interface. By 6th grade, which is the last grade in this particular elementary school, they've used Canvas for several years. We are not one-to-one with technology throughout the district. We have a class set that's shared among the 3 classes, averaging about 30 Chromebooks total. Therefore, I have to prepare hybrid lessons. We use Chromebooks, and students have Microsoft accounts to use and PowerPoint. The instructional need for this unit of study comes directly from the standards provided for 6th grade social studies on the South Carolina Department of Education website. This standard reads that students should compare the development of social systems among the early river valley civilizations. This indicator was developed to prompt inquiry into a comparison between the first agricultural revolutions on the development of social systems within early river civilizations. This was taken from the South Carolina Department of Education website, and they are the most updated standards. This standard requires students to compare the social systems of the 4 early river valley civilizations. The need was identified by consulting the standards for the state of South Carolina, as well as using the curriculum guide provided by my school district. In order to address the learner's needs based on the state, the topic of the lesson will be the social order in Mesopotamia. Students must study each civilization in order to compare them to each other. So the standard actually is asking for a comparison of 4 river valley civilizations. The first one that's focused on is Mesopotamia. They will take that knowledge, add the knowledge that they learn about the other 3, and then they will compare it from there. This will be the first lesson to introduce Mesopotamia, and it will focus on the hierarchy of their social systems. So starting at the top with their nobles and then going down. Prior knowledge, where does instruction begin? I have found through my 3 years of teaching 6th grade social studies that they generally don't know anything about world history, with the exception of Egyptian mummies and samurais in Japan. The standards cover topics ranging from the Ice Age to medieval Europe. For this module, I'm focusing on a unit on Mesopotamia, one lesson within that unit. Students generally have no background knowledge on this concept. To determine prior knowledge, I'll give a short pretest. Jabor in 2012 states or explains that the use of multimedia can improve learning in students, especially low-performing students or students with limited prior knowledge. Multimedia combines graphics with text. Another quote that I found is from Chapman Rackaway in 2012. This was located on page 189. Many of the best practices point to student interest in interactive materials, but one of the greatest advantages of multimedia use is the accommodation of multiple learning styles that better engage students in course materials generally. Both of these statements, pulled from research on multimedia use, support the fact that multimedia is beneficial in improving students' learning. I was especially interested in the article by Jabor in 2012, as it explained the effectiveness of multimedia on students who have limited prior knowledge, as the lesson I am teaching is on a subject with which students are generally unfamiliar. Additionally, as we study the universal design for learning in this class, Rackaway 2012 supports the idea that multimedia is beneficial in making learning accessible to multiple types of learners. Together, these resources support the use of multimedia for the use of this lesson. The multimedia that I'll be utilizing in this lesson on Mesopotamia. To begin class, students will listen to a rap song about Mesopotamia. This is found on Flocabulary. It is a paid resource, so I have to pay for my access to it. This song includes text on the screen. The song adds relevancy to the students and is engaging as it encourages students to sing along. Next, students will watch a YouTube video about the social order in Mesopotamia. Again, closed captioning will be used. This makes real-world connections as we will talk about social order in America compared to Mesopotamia. It is also relevant in the sense of being directly related to essential instruction. A PowerPoint will be used to deliver the key vocabulary for students to record in their notebooks, and discussion questions are included to encourage collaboration among peers. Finally, as an assessment and review, students will compete in a quizzes game in which they try to answer multiple choice questions the fastest. This is motivational, engaging, and interactive for the students. Assessment, what did you learn? The assessment for this lesson will be a quizzes game at the end of the class period or at the beginning of the next class period, depending on time. The assessment will be formative. It will be made up of 15 multiple choice questions. Students will complete this assessment independently so that I may see how each student is processing the material. Quizzes is designed to be a fun assessment as it is laid out as a game that students complete on their Chromebooks. Finally, all data will be sent and stored in my Quizzes account so that I may easily access the information at the end of the day. What the presenter knows about PowerPoint. It was discovered that the presenter has a strong understanding of the basics of PowerPoint. Images and text boxes, the use of grid lines throughout all point to this strength. According to the PowerPoint Effectiveness Assessment, the strengths lie in slide design and in text slides. Also, Hamlet in Module 1 presentation for Slide 2 for the American College of Education explains 4 key points that should be used in presentations or in multimedia or graphic creation. These are contrast of colors, repetition, alignment, and proximity. In this specific presentation, there are strengths demonstrated in the repetition of the fonts and the color schemes throughout, as well as using contrasting colors in the presentation. Some challenge areas or goals Two were identified by the same PowerPoint effectiveness assessment. They were multimedia and focusing the audience. After looking at these challenge areas, for this presentation, a goal was set for the use of animation, not only in the shapes and images, but also as you move from slide to slide and in creating how much information is viewed on the screen at a given time. The application of this skill can be seen as you go through the PowerPoint. Animation has been added on each slide so that only a small portion of text is revealed at a time. This helps to focus the audience on what you're seeing and prevents them from reading ahead or getting distracted. Also, animation in the transitions of the slides from one to the next has been included. References include Dr. Hamlet, a course lecturer for the American College of Education, Jabor, a multimedia principal in teaching lessons, and an article, a journal. Parody is a PowerPoint skills inventory, another article by Rackaway, and then the South Carolina Department of Education was used to pull the standards. Thank you so much for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.